This day in sports history. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. I'm a big fan of shave soap. I've been using different brands for years, and I recently gave Sterling's shave soaps a try, and I've been very happy with the results. Sterling's shave soaps give you a great lather and a frictionless feel that allows the razor to glide right over the skin for a super close shave. No skin irritation and a clean, refreshing feel with no soapy residue after. I can tell you without a doubt, it's simply the best shave I've ever had. And my wife has noticed too. And here's the thing. With the ability to purchase 1-ounce sample pucks, you can try out different scents to find the right one for you. Give Sterling Soap a try today. Visit sterlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. And welcome back to This Day in Sports History, a member of the Sports History Network. More podcasts, more info, and giveaways can be found at sportshistorynetwork.com. It's February 13th, and on this day in 1982, Dunbar High's Mighty Poets drove 107 miles to play the top-ranked team in the country. So why am I talking about a high school basketball game that happened 43 years ago? Well, this Dunbar team is one that is unlike any that happened before it, or will ever be seen again. The 82 Poets had 4 future NBA players on their roster, 3 of which would be drafted in the first round in 1987. Led by 5'3" Tyrone Muggsy Bogue, along with Reggie Williams, Reggie Lewis, and David Wingate. This Dunbar team has got to be the greatest high school team ever assembled. Dunbar is a public school in Baltimore in the shadow of the Lafayette Projects, and it offered a unique set of college prep courses that drew kids from all over the city. Now, while recruiting a kid to play at a public school is illegal, head coach Bob Wade, the former Washington Redskins and Denver Broncos defensive back-turned-hoops mentor, said he never crossed any legal lines to bring a kid in. Muggsy grew up in Lafayette, and his sister was a star on the girls' basketball team, so it was kind of natural for him to follow her. Others matriculated in as well. On this day, Dunbar made the 2-hour trip to Camden, New Jersey, to play Camden Catholic, the top-ranked high school team in the country at that point. Camden Catholic featured Billy Thompson, the guy who would later be named Parade's Player of the Year. Thompson would also eventually be a first-round pick of the Atlanta Hawks in 1986. The Camden kids who came to this game to watch it thought it must be a joke when they saw Muggsy warming up in the gym. They had never seen anything like him, and of course the kids and adults in the packed gym that night started laughing at him and hurling insults his way. Well, it didn't take long for Muggsy to showcase what he could do, and why those watching that night should be concerned for their hometown boys. On 3 straight possessions in the first quarter, Bogues picked the pocket of Camden's point guard and went in for layups. He controlled the game on offense and defense. On the offensive end, he dished out a steady buffet of assists. In the first half, it was the Wingate-Williams show. Wingate, who signed with Georgetown not long after this game, hit all 9 of his shots in the first half. Williams had 19 points by halftime, and Dunbar had a commanding 50-21 lead. Wade's strategy of letting Thompson play his game, but shut down his support system, worked to perfection. Thompson scored 26, but he was the only Camden player to get to double digits. Wingate cooled off a little bit in the second half, but not much, to finish with 31 points. And when the final horn sounded, Dunbar had taken down the top-ranked high school team in the country 84-59. Thompson, who was on his way to Louisville the next year and would play on their '86 national championship team, was impressed with the Poets basketball team, saying, "That's the best team I have ever seen in my life. That little guard," referring to Muggsy, "was phenomenal." Dunbar improved to 24-0 with the win, but even though they had beaten what most considered to be the best high school team in the country by 25, there were some who said Dunbar wasn't even the best team in Baltimore. Calvert Hall was a Catholic school on the other side of town, The last team to have beaten Dunbar was Calvert the previous year in a triple overtime thriller that those who saw it that night called the greatest high school basketball game in history. So, after Dunbar beat Camden on this day, there were calls all around Baltimore for Dunbar and Calvert to settle the debate on the court and determine who the best high school basketball team in the land was in 1982. But it just couldn't be worked out. Calvert didn't want another slugfest with Dunbar this late in the year. It had cost them the previous year in their conference tournament. But their ducking of the Poets didn't stop Calvert from claiming themselves as national champions that year. But the ones who saw the Dunbar Poets take down the top-ranked team in the country on this night did not need to see them play anybody else to know who the real national champ was that year. Hey, I needed to call a quick timeout to let you know that we're giving away a $50 gift card to Homefield Apparel. Have a favorite college sports team? Of course you do. You're listening to a sports podcast. Well, Homefield Apparel has all the great gear so you can support your team in style. Jerseys, hoodies, hats, and a whole lot more are available in your team's colors and insignias. So go to sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways for your chance at a $50 gift card to Homefield Apparel. I've also put a link in the show notes. Now, let's get back out there. We've got more of this episode to do. On this day in 1977, Eric Heiden did something that no American had ever done before. If you're a fan of the Olympics, then you're probably familiar with the name Eric Heiden and his winning 5 gold medals in the 1980 Winter Olympics in speed skating. He, along with the U.S. Olympic hockey team, were the heroes in Lake Placid that year. But 3 years before that, Eric Heiden was definitely not a household name, and in fact was little known outside of speed skating circles. Heiden was an 18-year-old college freshman competing on the other side of the globe in the Netherlands in the World All-Around Speed Skating Championships over the span of 2 days. Well, as the name of this event suggests, this was a test of speed skaters in 4 different distances. On day 1, Heiden won the 500-meter event, the shortest of the 4 distances. His follow-up to that later in the day was a 3rd-place finish in the 1,500-meter to put him in a good spot heading into day 2. The second day of competition featured the grueling distances of the 5,000-meter and the 10,000-meter. Now that converts to 9.3 miles of speed skating in a single day. Heiden may have held back a little bit in the 5,000, finishing 9th in the event. Entering the final one, he held a slim lead over 2 Norwegians, and there weren't many who thought that he could skate fast enough to hang on to his tiny margin. Now, remember, this is long track speed skating on a 400-meter oval. There are only 2 competitors on the ice at a time, so you get 1 race at each distance to set a time. Pairing with somebody who can push you and extract valuable tenths of seconds is crucial. If you're paired with somebody who is not going to be nipping at your heels, it takes a special kind of concentration and effort to keep a winning pace and not relax. Heiden got a really good pairing in the final 10,000-meter event with the Dutchman Piet Kleine, the defending world champion, skating in the other lane. Heiden also knew the time to beat. Jan Eigil Storholt had set a time of nearly 15 minutes flat previously. If Heiden could post a time under 15 minutes, he would be the champion. Heiden was able to match Kleine early blade for blade during his heat, and then he pulled away to win by more than a second, posting one of 3 sub-15-minute times and secured the all-around world championship, becoming the first American to win the world title. Heiden would duplicate his feat in both 78 and 79 before skating into Olympic fame with 5 golds in the 1980 Olympiad. His success in 1980 can draw a direct line back to the world title that he won on this day in 1977. On this day in 1954, Furman's Frank Selvy scored 100 points in a basketball game. Selvy hit 41 of 66 shots on the night, and of course, this was long before the three-point shot was a thing. He also hit 18 of 22 free throws. 4,000 people jammed into Textile Hall to watch this one, while many others watched on television. And that was a novel thing because this was the first live television broadcast of a game that had been done in South Carolina. Selvy gave the crowd everything they wanted, hitting his final shot with just seconds to go. He drained a 40-foot rainbow to give him triple digits. On this day in 1990, Larry Bird's pursuit of Calvin Murphy's consecutive free throw streak ended at 71, coming up just short of setting a new NBA mark. Murphy's record of 78 consecutive free throws would stand for another 3 years until Minnesota's Michael Williams hit 97 in a row. And in 1968, the finals of the women's luge event at the '68 Winter Olympics concluded with the East Germans finishing first, second, and fourth. But an official accused the East German lugers of cheating by heating their runners on their sled, which would make them faster. All 3 women were disqualified. The East Germans denied any wrongdoing and said it was a Western capitalist plot. And they may have been right. A Stasi document uncovered in 2006 revealed the official who made the call to disqualify the women allegedly had been bribed by West German officials. Time now for today's non-sports fun fact. If you're at least 28 years old, the skeleton you've got now is completely different than the one you had 10 years ago.
What you talking about, Willis?
Once you reach adulthood, your skeleton regenerates 10% a year through a process called modeling. So, in 10 years, it's completely different than a decade before. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.